Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2023 Hyundai Elantra SE. More specifically, it's my dad's brand new 2023 Hyundai Elantra SE. He just picked this car up, and today I'm gonna review it for you guys. What I think is particularly cool is that if you're in the market for an Elantra, this video will serve as a comprehensive guide. And for my dad, it'll probably serve as a tutorial video on how to use all of the buttons. Now, let me clarify, I did walk my dad through how to use each of the buttons in person. I wasn't like, now wait a minute, let me review it first, then I'll tell you how to turn on the air conditioning. I can picture my dad laughing at that joke. I can also picture him writing a comment out in the comment section like, help, please, he still hasn't shown me how to turn on the air conditioning. Though I suspect he will return to this video a few times if he forgets how to turn on the radar guided cruise control or put it in sport mode. Without further ado, let's get started. As an automotive journalist, I don't tend to review base models. I tend to review the top trims with all the bells and whistles and different features. My mindset being, if I show you everything that the vehicle has available, you'll go, okay, I want that feature, I don't really need that feature, and you can choose from there. So when my dad came to me about this base Elantra and I looked into it, I was really surprised at what features this includes for the lowest trim. I thought for sure this would be, real chintzy. And surprise, it's actually not. Starting here with the headlights, you do get halogen headlights themselves, but you will get the LED daytime running light that's included on the higher trims. I thought that was really neat that that's an inclusion here. Halogen turn signals, that is to be expected. I kind of thought that that would probably be included on something like this, but they really don't skimp on the styling, and that LED daytime running light is really surprising to me that that's included. If we move to the profile here, you can see you do get really nice wheels. I mean, these aren't steelies, these are aluminum. They're tiny, but they're still a really neat design. On this particular one right here, you're gonna get 195 65Rs, and then they're 15-inch wheels. Moving to the mirrors, I was surprised to see that this included blind spot monitoring. Usually that's a feature reserved for higher trim vehicles. Moving underneath the hood in my dad's Elantra, this is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder, making 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. And that is paired to a continuously variable transmission. As we move to the back, you'll see you get this really nice tail light, and then it says Elantra here, and you will get a backup camera. Before we move to the trunk, I want to talk about the key fob really quick. It's pretty standard, it says Hyundai on the back. It is a switchblade key. And as much as I love push-button start, like key fobs that are just keyless entry, I love the switchblade key more. I love it. I'm sure that's terrible for the mechanism, but it will never get old in my book. Though I digress. You'll get lock, unlock, and panic right here, and then you'll also have a button that you can hold and open the trunk right here. Pretty good space in here, lot of storage capacity, and you can pull these to fold down your second row seats. That unlatches them, and you can just pull them from the interior right there. You also get a donut down here, which is nice. You don't always get a donut nowadays. Sometimes it's a fix-a-flat kit, so it's good to see that you get an actual tire here on the Elantra. As I move to the interior, here's something I don't talk about too often on a vehicle, the window sticker. So MSRP for this is $22,360. My dad got it for right around that price. I think there was a couple incentives because Hyundai Elantras are not as in demand as something like a Ford Maverick is, which is the other vehicle he was considering, though unfortunately he could not find one anywhere close to sticker price, and so he ended up going for this instead. I think this was a wise decision This Elantra is really neat. One thing I wanted to highlight here on the window sticker is all the different features. So as I mentioned, it's got a surprising amount of features, and we'll talk about it, especially here on the interior. But what I think is funny on a base model is they want to look like this is filled out. But if you actually read what some of the features are, you can see their padding. So for example, you start here strong. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which is wireless in here. I think that's really neat. 8-inch display, 4.2-inch color gauge cluster screen, remote keyless entry. But if we move all the way down, it's got driver seat height adjustment, the bench folds, you get a full tank of gas. It's like map lights. You get a map light. Like, I hope you get a map light. It'd be weird if I didn't get a map light in 2023. I just think that's really particularly amusing. And I don't often highlight the window stickers, so that might be something I do a little bit more in the future moving forward. Starting here at the door panel, as we actually talk about the interior, it looks really premium. You can see this kind of stitched texture up the door panel in this really nice little tweeter. But that's plastic. It's not real. It's fake. It's made to look like it's leather, but that's real fake. And I appreciate the styling choice to at least attempt to make it look very premium on the door. You'll have your window switches right here and your mirror controls. Down here, you can pull that up to open the trunk and get your gas cap open. And then the hood latch release is right here. Right here, this is the control for your lighting in the gauge cluster screen. You can just turn that up, and that's going to make that all bright or dim, depending on what you want. This is the button for the auto engine start stop feature. So if your car comes to a stop, it will turn the engine off to preserve fuel economy and then turn it on automatically. You'll have traction control off right here, and then you'll have a lane keeping assist right there. And then if we move up to the steering wheel, I really like the texture of the turn signal and the windshield wipers. They're really premium feeling. They're this kind of piano black gloss, and I think that's really neat that they've included some more premium feeling materials in here, even though this is pretty cheap. But as we talk about the steering wheel, this is very comfortable. I'm pretty sure this is polyurethane. It's not actual leather on this particular car, but it is definitely easy to grab. It's got nice touch points. And then you'll have your buttons for your Bluetooth, your volume, your channel changing right here, and then your different modes. I believe that's for your infotainment. And then this side of the steering wheel has your controls for your gauge cluster screen to the right here. So you can pull up your tire pressure, your different driver assistance settings, lights, door, sound. It's really nice. So if you don't like the sound, you're like, welcome sound, no thank you. Let's talk about the welcome sound really quick. So we've locked ourselves in the vehicle, turned the engine off. If we hit unlock and we open the door, it's got that nice little sound. I don't know who would want to turn that off. It's so peaceful. And so then you go to turn the engine on, and as you get out of your car, eventually you're going to want to turn that engine off. It's like the Dell logo. It sounds like the Dell logo. It's this peaceful little thing, or like a Windows startup screen. I love that noise. And I really wanted to highlight that. This is great. I'm just turning the engine off and on and off and on. But as we return to the screen here, there's a lot of different settings you can go through. You can choose theme A, theme B, and that just changes the little screen. It doesn't actually change the color of your tach or speedometer, which are physical in this car. I like that they are actual physical dials, because if they break, it's a lot easier to fix than replacing an entire screen. But there's quite a few different things that you can go through. As you can see, this is tracking at a 52.4 for fuel economy, which is incredible. My dad did a real-world test to see if this was accurate, and he said he was getting closer to high 40s, which is still awesome. I mean, that's amazing fuel economy for this car. There is a lot to look at in there, a lot to love as you scroll between your different settings. There's so much you can tool with, which is cool. I'm glad that they give you that functionality. And then if we move over here to the infotainment screen, it is very responsive, very quick to the touch. And as I mentioned, it also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is so neat. I thought you'd have to plug it in on this car, but not here. You get it wirelessly. That's very useful. It was really cool to show my dad that because he didn't know what that was. And it reminded me of this joke that I said in another Kia video. The LXS is the trim that your dad buys. It might not have the big wheels or the panoramic sunroof, but your dad doesn't really care about that. He just wanted something with better fuel economy than his 1997 Ford Ranger, and admittedly, he really likes the Apple CarPlay feature, even though he can never seem to remember that's what it's called, and he always just says, you know, the thing with the apps, the app thing on my screen. I love that, it's so cool. It's so funny, like my joke came to fruition in my own life. So I thought that was really neat. And my dad loves that feature. It's really cool to pull up the Apple CarPlay and get all the features, your maps, your navigation, your music pulled up there. And that's probably where most people will stay on the infotainment system. There's not a ton to mess with in here. There's a few different connectivity things that you can do and different modes you can switch around, but I think most people will stay with that CarPlay functionality for the most part. Then if we move down here, you'll have your hazards and your very simple climate controls. Yes, my dad knows where the climate controls are. Those have generally not changed on vehicles for years. And no dual zone or anything like that, but it is nice to have just the pretty forward laid out buttons that are very generic and give you very clear instructions. Then you'll have your recirculation, and your rear defroster, stuff like that. Then you'll have a shifter, pretty traditional shifter. If we throw it into reverse, you get a nice backup camera here with guiding lines, and they turn. That's really cool. And one thing I really like on this backup camera is that we can pull it up for a top-down view. I don't think you're trailering with this car. I don't know, maybe someone is, but you have this top-down view that you can use. So if I back up, it's like almost like you're backing up to a trailer hitch, which is cool. My guess is since this car doesn't have the full 360-degree camera system that the higher trims do, it just gives you the top-down view that you would see if it was stitched together on the higher trims. And so there's that functionality to kind of switch the viewing angle, which isn't something that's super common on a lot of cars. So I'm glad that they did that there. Shifting this back into park, you'll have your drive mode selector right there. You can click that. You'll have smart, normal, and sport. So a couple different modes to switch between. And you can actually tap this button to get your camera. That will pull up if you're driving very slowly, or obviously you're in reverse. This isn't something you can just hit on the highway to see what's behind you. Overall, though, this interior is pretty well appointed. I'm just wildly impressed with all the functionality you get and the features in the gauge cluster and the screen. It is pretty basic. I mean, moving further back, you have, you know, your parking brake, and this is funny. You get a little cup holder in the cup holder. So if you had, I don't know, like a shot of espresso, you could put it in there, or you could use it for a normal cup holder. I think that's very amusing. And then opening this up, nothing in there, nothing in the storage cubby like USBs or anything like that. Pretty straightforward. And then up here, normal mirror, and you will have normal dome lights, just the regular bulbs. I wish they were LEDs, that would be nice, but it is what it is. Passenger airbag off, warning light, and then a little button to switch between the doors and the lights. And then up here you do have your sensor for the safety sense features that this has. So it has automatic emergency braking, lane keep assist, and lane centering. Oh, I didn't talk about this. Let's talk about this really quick. It took a little bit of time for me and my dad to figure out what this button did. It's actually lane centering. So it has lane keeping assist and lane centering, and you can turn them on separately, which is very interesting. So this will keep you kind of in the lane. The steering wheel will kind of adjust to make itself centered within the lane, which I think is very interesting. The lane departure warning is just going to beep at you. So this is going to adjust, that's going to beep at you. And I think it's really interesting that they have both of those kind of built in, and it's not just one feature, because I guess maybe some people like one and don't like the other, and vice versa, and they just give you the option of both. So that is pretty much the interior here. We'll talk about the back seats really quick. There's one more thing I wanted to note in the instruction manual that I thought was really, really funny. So when my dad and I were trying to find the difference between lane keep assist and lane departure warning, I checked the manual and I found this. This is so funny. Lane keeping assist will operate when your vehicle speed is between approximately 40 and 120 miles per hour. I don't know many people that would be getting this up to 120, and I don't know anywhere in America where that's even legal, but I like that they were like, okay, we have to preface, it technically does work up to 120 miles per hour. 121? Sorry, bud, you're on your own. But I love how they put that in there, though, really, other than the Autobahn, I can't imagine anybody going 120 in a Hyundai Elantra. Moving to the back seats, you get a fair amount of legroom here. I have the seats about where I'd sit at 5'9", and I have 3 or 4 inches of backseat legroom and roughly an inch of backseat headroom. Maybe not the best place to spend in a long road trip, but definitely still comfortable. These back seats are pretty no frills for the most part. I don't believe that hoodie is included on every model. I'm pretty sure that's my dad's. Sorry in advance if you were disappointed in purchasing one of these and didn't find this in the back. Right here, you do not get a centerfold armrest, which is a little disappointing, though I suspect most people won't be carrying many people in the rear seats of these. Though if you do, it's small enough that the air conditioning can get back here pretty easily. You don't really need these rear air vents. Though again, it would be nice to see a rear USB. Though fortunately, you get a rear dome light, and my dad has still not taken the tape off of that. Ta-da! Driving the new 2023 Elantra, Hyundais aren't unfamiliar in my family. In the last few years, we've actually had quite a few of them. My dad had a 2011 Sonata before this, which reached well over 200,000 miles. He was really happy with that car. And I had a 2017 Hyundai Accent before my Tacoma, which was a great car. I called it zippy, it got me around and where I needed to go, but I was doing a lot of landscaping and it just was not working for that. I put a tow hitch on it. Suffice to say, it couldn't tow very much. And my sister just bought a 23 Hyundai Kona. So we like the brand. We think they're reliable cars, especially with my dad's Sonata. I personally think I'd trust Hyundai just as much as I would trust Honda. Actually driving this car, it's very smooth, almost spaceship-like. It hugs the road really well, and it's just very comfortable to sit in. I like it, and I'm happy that my dad got this car. I don't think he was settling for this in comparison to the Maverick. I think the Maverick would have been a great truck. Obviously, it's in a different vehicle class, but you know, they're just so hard to get right now, and he wanted something with really good fuel economy. Back in the day, even a couple years ago, if you were to buy a base model vehicle, you're losing a lot of features, even compared to a mid-trim. But here, I don't feel like I'm losing that. Yeah, if I had the bigger screen, it might be a little nicer. Heated seats would be cool. But for someone like my dad who just wants a car that drives and drives well with some added benefits of these cool safety features like the radar guided cruise control, automatic emergency braking, the lane keep assist, which I don't love, but he thinks is neat. You know, get a car like this. You don't need all those bells and whistles. I often forget when I review the cars with all the different features that the general public isn't going to buy a top trim because they're never really going to use all of those features. And this works great. It's an awesome car that flies along, gets great fuel economy, apparently can go to 120 miles per hour, though I would never tell you to do that. Do not do that. And it just drives well and comfortably. And I'm happy my dad got something like this because I think it suits him really well. And this color is really neat. That's just about going to wrap up my review of this Elantra. But before I go, I'd like to mention that I am a Christian. And if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can leave those in the comment section below. And also, I'd like to close out with a weekly scriptural reading. This week's is Proverbs 2, 6 through 8. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He holds success in store for the upright. He is a shield to those whose walk is blameless, for he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care.